In today's video, I would like to talk about social expectations and not taking your work and what you do and yourself too seriously. I'm looking at this especially from a job-related perspective, or in general, every activity that we do and that can have a social approval, something that we do that we tend to show to others. This is something I thought about, especially in academic settings, when I looked at my professors, but even some of my classmates. And also when you look at job relationships and job hierarchies, people in these situations tend to give a lot of importance to what they're doing, to social etiquettes on how you present yourself, even for something as simple as how you phrase a specific email to a professor, if you don't use the correct words or formatting of the email. And when you make these mistakes or when you are negligible about specific aspects, these people can get very upset about what you did, what you said, or what you didn't do, and what you should have done instead. And it's strange to me because you see what they're doing, like you're doing a job, for example, you're paid to do that thing and you're paid to have those responsibilities. But some people tend to tie what they do with their identity, and they give a lot of importance in the social positioning they have based on what they're doing, or because of what they're doing, because of their job and status and so on. And this has always been a mystery to me, because I always see activities as just that, stuff you do. If you have a degree, if you have a specific position, I've never been interested in what that means, let's say socially. And I've always found it weird. And actually, I don't like it when people treat you differently just because of the position you occupy in a job hierarchy, or what you have studied. For example, if you're a doctor or the likes, some people can treat you differently. And I've always found that to be extremely disorienting and nonsensical. I'm always a human being beneath what I do, and I always try to treat people based on that idea. But when you interact with people and you interact with the social agglomerate that is a society, you always find that most people actually maintain those social etiquettes. And so you're sort of brought to also follow those traditions in a way. And this is, to me, mind-boggling, because it's like we are human beings, but as soon as, you are the boss of a company, or as soon as you're a professor, people tend to change. Or better, it's not like people tend to change. It's just that, in those positions, people demonstrate how they see themselves and the importance they give to how other people see themselves. And they sort of seem to be so attached on what they're doing and the results they have, what they studied, their exam scores, and all these things that for me are so trivial. And it can be a bit disorienting to live with these people, because most of the times, most people are like this. Not always, but especially when you work in specific industries, you see more of these personalities. And it is very strange, because I always have this childlike view of things and what people are doing. I never like to address people in a specific way just because they're older than me, or because they have a specific position in a job, or because they're further than me in a career progression, and so on and so forth. I mean, all people then return home to their family, or, they go play a game of football with their friends, they go to the gym. I mean, outside what you're doing and your career and the social etiquettes you have and social tags you have, you're always a human being. You have a name and you have some tendencies. You like doing some stuff. You like talking about specific topics and so on and so forth. I don't think that's the job or the position, the career position, that changes the person. It's more so maybe how we are normally wired, how most people are normally wired, and not having that sort of identification between what you do and who you are. When you don't give importance to these things naturally, it can feel very, not necessarily lonely, but it's alienating, because it's as if you are seeing the code behind a program while everyone else is just using the program itself. You're seeing the blueprints of social behavior while people are acting those behaviors. At least it seems that way, because probably you're also playing, let's say, a social game that you're not aware of. And this is tied to social expectations, especially behavioral expectations, and more precisely, facial mimic and facial expressions. I've always found it weird when people give importance to how you present yourself, how you talk, what facial expressions you demonstrate and you show, and so on. For me, there is just a message something that you want to say to someone else. But a lot of people give too much importance in how you present yourself, what you say, how you say it, your facial expressions. And it can be so tiring, because to me, that's just something additional of no use to the information you want to convey. I know the importance that this can have in conveying an information and saying something to someone else, but I always found that trivial. Maybe because I'm first and foremost have a bit of a difficult time expressing emotions and with facial expression in general. Not because I can't do it, but because I find it to be very tiring and most of the time of no use. And maybe it's not that strange that I'm mostly interested in things, objects, concepts, more so than people itself. I mean, I can be empathetic and can be interested in people with their stories, but I always bring that back to a more conceptual realm, if that makes sense. I tend to be more in tune with nature, other animals, and sometimes inanimate objects more so than human beings. And this probably sort of explains why I find the social norms and traditions to be so weird. And in fact, when I talk to people, I always feel like I'm in a play, just doing and saying stuff that people will expect from me in that specific situation. You're just acting what you think you should be doing, what you think people want from you. And that can feel sometimes delirious, because you feel like you're dividing yourself in multiple personalities. And so much so that sometimes you don't know which one is you, and if there is an actual original, let's call it, mask behind all the different representations you use with the different social circumstances with which you interact, and with the different people you talk to, and so on. Let me know if this is something that you also see in yourself. I'm happy to hear what you think, and see you in the next video.